Yeah, get it out now.
Try it now.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear.
All right. Hi, Jeff. Hi,
Welcome,
everybody else
Jeff.
online.
We've done the Pledge of Allegiance and public comment. If you didn't hear it or recognize it, we approved the minutes, and now we're on new business 3A. You got the floor.
Wow, you guys are zooming there. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Director Cicada. It's great to be actually almost live and in person here. The agenda today, I just want to kind of go over it briefly. I know you talked about the minutes and all. We're going to go over the monthly financial reports, standby assessments. Then we'll probably spend most of our time on the draft operating budget. But please don't forget, we still need to take a look at the investment policy. And I hope you have had a chance to review it, because I'd like to take it to the full board in June, as we want to make sure that we adopt it before the end of the fiscal year. So with that being said, on the monthly financial reports, as you take a look at it, I'm thinking we're doing pretty good here. Revenues are pretty much on target. We're supposed to be at 83, and pretty much, yeah, we're a little low at 72%, but that does not include the most recent property tax numbers or allocation that just came in. So if you factor that in, we're doing really well. Great revenues that seem to be on target, so we're not having an issue there. Some of the other smaller revenues, such as backflow certs and reimbursables, those things, yes, are low. But when you look at the total dollar budgeted amount, we're not talking significant amounts there. And so we are tracking pretty much online with what we anticipated. And at this point, I'll ask if there's any questions on the operating revenues.
I'm good.
I don't have any questions, and Cindy doesn't have any questions, so
Carry on.
Let's go
It's
to
all yours.
expenditures. Year to date, we're supposed to be at 83%. As you can see, we're at the 73% level. Again, we're doing well, although there are still the few categories where we're either over budget or will be over budget by the end of the year. And they're the standard ones we've talked about. We have power, electricity, CPPA costs that have gone up, fuel costs, chemical costs. We've also had the bad debt expenses, because remember, we carried over the prior year. So we're looking at really 2 years worth of expenditures. Legal is getting kind of high. We're tracking that, as well as some of the others in the miscellaneous operating revenue, miscellaneous operating expenses. But again, when you're looking at the small dollar budgeted amounts, I'm not too concerned about that. I am concerned about CPPA. I am concerned about fuel, and I am concerned about chemicals, and we're going to be addressing that in next year's budget.
the travel and training, is that the fuel you speak of? Or travel? Okay.
Travel and
Which
training.
department?
Yeah, just on this sheet here, just looking at the 98%, budgeted being exhausted at this point of the year for travel and training.
That's mainly high because we do most of the training in the beginning of the year.
Okay, that makes sense. And then the other one, the legal, are we expecting a whole lot more legal, or is that the same case that or did we have a spike in legal this year?
Probably not a ton, but we've had some big ones this year that we've worked through. But I don't think we have a lot outstanding. And
So we
Dave's on
may,
vacation, so that helps.
what's
A
that?
month or so?
But it shouldn't be any big unexpected bills.
And it's not that far off anyway. It's 90 compared to 83%. Okay, those are the only questions I had on that.
I don't have any.
You want to dive into the individual departments or are we good on that?
I'm
Y-
okay
Yeah,
on all that.
I don't think we need to go into that much,
Yeah.
into the
Especially this
weeds,
time of year.
or at this point, no.
Okay, let's go then to CIP.
And then what page are you jumping to, just so I can?
Oh. Catherine, what page is that?
18,
18 of your
18, sorry.
packet.
18 of the pack.
How do I find 18 of the packet?
I just keep scrolling down.
Okay, all right,
In Adobe, up at the top, it's 18 of 18.
oh, there it is. You're right. Okay, I'm right here. I'm on it. Okay, go ahead, Jeff. We're caught up. I'm caught up.
Certainly. Thank you. In looking at this, we've got where the first one will take a look at the water side. And we've got several large projects that are ongoing. As you can tell, there's the courtyard, which is coming to a close here, if I'm not mistaken, Damon.
Right.
We have the Ebbets Pass Redwood tanks replacement. I'm going to defer to Damon as he can give you an update on that in just a moment. And then we also have the AMI project that is winding down as well. Damon, do you have any comments on the Ebbets Pass Redwood tank replacement project?
Just to give you guys kind of the update of the last round of the project. Flume Court is essentially done. This is the tank that has the wall partially around the whole tank in Arnold's. The gate is being constructed. It will be installed. Big Trees 4, the site was paved last week. So we actually have better access to the generator on site. And so essentially the Redwood tank component of the project is almost pretty much done. We're kind of at the last gasp of punch list items for that portion, but Larkspur tank, which was a steel tank that was being replaced in Forest Meadows, was rolled into the project. Same contractor, different pot of money, all rolled up into one project though. That project is the foundation was poured last week, and is a significant foundation because the original tank was built on what doth essentially, a leaf litter. So we had to over excavate to make a more robust foundation, and they're going to start throwing that tank up now.
The one on Bigfoot Circle, has it been replaced already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Is the old one, they were taken down, right?
The old one was taken down. Yep. So that's Big Trees 4 and 5. Now
Okay.
Big Trees 4. So there's the foundation of where the tank was is still there. And I don't know if you all heard there was a fire there last week.
No,
I did.
So it came within.
on Bigfoot Circle?
Yeah, I guess you would call it Bigfoot Circle. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it came right up to the 25 feet of the tank.
How big of a fire? No, I didn't hear it. My sister
So-
has, and the reason I know about that, I walk up to it
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I'm visiting. She lives on, or has a cabin on Bigfoot Circle.
Social media would tell you about 4 acres, but from what I've seen, I don't think it was that big.
No houses?
No houses.
It'd be hard to do.
Burn pile. I think it was an out of control burn pile, just total conjecture on my part, but
Be hard to do 4 acres in that neighborhood without.
that's what we
consuming
were
it.
saying. That's,
Right between houses here.
and it kind of, if our tank is kind of up on a little knob, it looked like it traveled kind of around to the backside of the tank, and there's a cell tower back there, and
Well, it went around this because we do a lot of weed abatement and stuff around there.
yeah, and it melted the porta potty. Porta potty became a pile of goo on the asphalt,
Oh,
but
wow.
That's
we
terrible.
have a knack for that. I think the Sheep Ranch tank, it was a fire the day we had the ground.
You completed it, yeah.
Huh.
Here we are at Big Trees 4 and 5
There's a
site.
fire in Copper on Thursday. I don't know if that came close to anything.
I don't
10
believe
acres or
so.
something.
No, that was near the fire station,
Yeah.
right behind the fire station.
Oh.
And that was just under 10.
9
Yeah.
acres, I
I
think.
think it mapped 9.8, and I believe the fire that you're referencing, mapped at like 4.4.
Wow. So I guess it was.
And the redwood tank had been removed already.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Damon, if you wouldn't mind staying up there, because we're gonna run into the sewer side, and maybe you can give an update on some of the projects. Because as we look at this, some of the projects underway are the Copper Cove Lift Station 6, 8, and Force Main Bypass, Lift Station 15 and 18. They're doing work on and I believe it's in the design phase, the Arnold Secondary Clarifier. And then the West Point Wilseyville Consolidation Construction Project is moving along.
Yeah. So real quick on Copper Cove lift stations, all those two projects are essentially one project. Mazingo Construction's doing both. So there was some collection, still part of the collection system improvements that needed to take place in the Poker Flat HOA, Connor Estates HOA area. That work was completed last week. So now we're going to start, Mazingo can start focusing on lift station improvements. In the next couple weeks, I believe they're going to start working on lift station 18, which is in the Copper Cove HOA on the other side of the lake. And then West Point Wilseyville consolidation kicked off again last week. After birdnest surveys were completed, there was essentially a kickoff meeting again on part of the contractor in the district, and that's moving forward. So there's some site improvements that still need to take place with solids handling basins. So all that work's happening now. And then
So we just did bird surveys this month and.
Well, it was-
West Point.
it was the end of what was it? Going into May. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Arnold Secondary Clarifier. Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, so that one, Charles, Kate, and Michael worked together to submit a funding application through the SAFER program with the state of California for a grant.
Do we have any update on the Copper Cove biomass construction?
Yeah, nothing really been happening lately.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just got to check in on it.
yeah,
every once in a while.
yeah, nothing's really going on with that one.
Okay, all right. We haven't got to plans or
No, that was kind of a low level. kind
no
of a boring-
discussions yet either? Okay.
No, nothing really, nothing to talk about.
All right. Good.
Really.
You're stirring the pot, aren't you, Scott?
Yeah, he is.
No, I was glad I didn't see it up on this list again or again, it didn't show up. Okay.
Goodness. Thank you, Damon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
The next item on this report of CIPs is, the next page is the summary of the water and sewer CIP loans. The total amount of each loan, as you can see, loan proceeds on the sewer side was 10.9 million. We've used about 2.8 million to date. The majority of that in Copper Cove Lift Station 6, 8, and Force Main Bypass. So leaving a balance of just under 8.2 million. On the water side, we're moving ahead on design work on a number of those. We still have about 18.9 million left on the remaining balance.
Okay.
And also the next item is a fund balance report. As you can see in the column for unrestricted, the two items, water and sewer, we're still negative on the sewer side of 2.6 million, but we're hoping to really close that gap as we go through this next when we go through the rate process. And that was part of the items that was included in the financial plan, the cost of service study that IB Consulting did. So that's the goal there is to close that gap. Any questions on fund balances?
Nope.
No, thank you.
Okay,
We're good.
activity report. As you were aware in the rate study, IB Consulting showed that the Waters Fund had some negative operating. That's one of the reasons why we're looking at increasing overall revenue requirements on the water fund. So that's not a little too surprising, seeing this negative number. The sewer, we're doing a little bit better. We're going to be, again, whittling away at that $2.6 million deficit, but we also need to make sure that we do have an outstanding loan from the water fund to the sewer fund that we'll be repaying back probably a little faster than anticipated. So we'll keep you posted on that. Any more questions on the monthly report?
No, thank you.
I don't have any and Cindy has none. So let's move
Do we have
forward.
anybody online that has questions? I see 10 participants. I don't know if they're public or employees.
Anyone with their hand up, Christine?
No,
On
we do not have it.
okay, so let's move on to 3B.
Standby assessments.
If we had a consent agenda, this item could
This would be
probably
there.
go into
No
it,
change.
correct?
I'll make a motion to approve that to send it to the full board. Is that helpful?
Yeah, and I'll second that motion. And I'll make a suggestion that moving forward, when we get stuff like this, let's create a consent agenda for this meeting. Can we do that?
I mean, especially since there really wasn't any change, but then again,
Yeah,
maybe it doesn't even need to come to finance and just go straight to. the
Unless it's here
board.
because there is a change and something to talk
We
about.
could, if it's just one item, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
let
no,
us
it
take
doesn't.
Any time, but
Right.
we could, if we had more than one item like that, we could do it. for sure.
Okay. Maybe it doesn't make that
Okay.
much sense for a consent agenda and a committee.
Here, yeah, I would just put it to the full board.
If there were several
Change
items
it,
that were
then.
like that, it would, yeah, it could. make
Okay, good.
sense.
We do spend a minute on this in our regular meeting when we get to this and making motions and approving each one individually. Can we stick this in a consent agenda?
I don't think so. At this particular point, we had to publicly notice this.
Oh,
because of
right.
the
Oh.
fees,
Oh,
but,
yeah.
it goes rather quickly, and we put this in today's agenda just to give you a heads up as to what's coming.
Okay,
Thank you.
and just so so we're prepared, or at least Cindy and I will be prepared I won't even be at that regular board meeting. Never mind. We're gonna take them individually, one at a time.
Yeah, the
Right.
Well,
Yes.
Russell
Alright.
will do that meeting.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll remind him for you, right?
All right, cool.
Michael, that's your job.
Okay,
We're
now
moving on
to the
to
fun part.
3C. Our budget.
Yes, sir. This is the draft operating budget. The CIP budget went out for internal review. I sent that out yesterday, and we'll be looking at that internally with engineering, utilities, and Michael. And then we'll be bringing that back to the full board as part of the preliminary budget on the 14th. Today's discussion is focused solely on the operating budget.
Excuse me just a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
This handout you're giving me is exactly what was in our board packet, right? Just bigger.
This-
It's been updated then?
No.
Okay.
The handout that you have today, I believe, if Catherine, if I'm not mistaken, that is a copy of the PowerPoint, correct?
This was added as a supplemental item on the board agenda
We have another part.
today.
Well, I just have mine from the agenda package. And I have all my notes on mine, so I just want to know if they're the same, but I could tell already there's a little bit of a change.
There are.
That's
this
okay,
is
I'll use
more of a
both.
summary. and it doesn't go into detail on each individual department. As we go through this, we will go back in each department and we'll have our conversations. So if we go to the next page, please.
Okay, so just,
Here is-
I know Cindy just asked this, but just for clarification, the thing, are we going to be referring to the item in the agenda packet at all, or just the handout for this meeting?
We will be referring to the entire agenda packet as we go forward. I just thought this was easier for people who were online and watching, because each individual page gets really hard to put on a PowerPoint. So I just wanted to go through this quickly to kind of show where we are, and then we'll dive deeper into each individual department, if that's okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and I
no,
have questions and stuff, really not that many, which is a surprise.
Wow.
I know.
Let
But
me
we'll
make.
do your-
I'm sorry, go ahead, Cindy.
I was gonna do your presentation, and then I do have notes almost on every page that
Sure.
I'd like to go through.
Certainly. On this particular one here, there is a slight change in the service and supplies budget for fiscal year 22-23, not on the budget. And all that did is change the variance number. It should have been 8,877,627. But again, that's only a difference in how you look at the variance from one year to the next. So quickly, in looking at this, operating revenue increased 2.1 million. A good portion of that is property tax revenues. We got the latest and greatest projections from the county. The other component of that is the rate revenues. We have projected the 8.5 months of rate revenues at the higher rates using the numbers that IB Consulting said. We're looking at a 21% increase in rate revenues, although that's not directly corresponding to the actual individual rates. But I'm sorry, a 21% increase in the revenue requirements, which is all revenues. And that does not correspond directly to a 21% increase in the rate revenue, but that's where I landed, figuring that it'd be conservative. And again, I did it for 8.5 months because the projection is to have any type of increase go into effect October 16th. So that means rates moving forward from that point on would be affected, and that's the 8.5 months. Under the I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we don't do a rate increase, how do you go back to the drawing board on this
We'd have to adjust the budget to
accordingly?
account for that, right? But it would have been, I'm not sure how we would have balanced the budget.
Well, but either way, we'll go forward with this, and then if there's not a change in the rates, we would amend the budget.
We could amend the budget.
effectively. Okay.
That's right.
Okay, I have a question, and I've noticed, and it's become prevalent at this point, that each time that these percentages are announced or discussed, and I'm talking about the 21% that we're discussing for this first year in our budget, we say that this is the need. There's a 21% increased need in revenue in rates, but all of our rates are what our customers are paying. So are we saying by saying that it's what the need to run the operation efficiently is 21%? Does that mean that some customers will be at 21%, others will be at 22, 23, and others will be at 18, 19? I mean, somehow or another, is there a way of, I know we keep saying that as a qualifying statement, that each individual person's rate isn't going to be raised by 21%, but
Right.
that qualifying statement that we at Habib, it started with Habib, and I've heard it from everyone giving a presentation on rates, or when we're talking about it.
So
We'll
present the cost of service and the rate design to the full board on July 12th, I believe it is, the first board meeting in July. And that's when we'll break down the actual customer impact by rate class and category and water versus.
But if we
sewer.
maintain that 21% need, it would almost be impossible not to be some of them at 18, some at 22, to get to 21% increase in rates received
In the 20% revenue
and
increase.
revenue received, a 21% increase. Am I correct?
Right.
Okay, then, all right. So the each individual customer is there, I understand that their increase is going to be different based on the variable portion of their rate on their use, if you will, but it's going to be around that number if we accept the model that's in front of us today.
Right.
Okay. Move on. Thank you.
Okay.
Jeff, I have a question on this particular page. Looking at the draft budget, why are the transfers in so much less than this current fiscal year?
Good question. I just wanted to cover one thing first before that, Director Cicada.
Okay,
And that's under non-operating revenues. Non-operating revenues do include property tax, our North Fork sales and New Hogan. Those are the big ones. So that's where those increases come from. When you look at the transfers in, we move money in from different funds to help pay for things like debt service and capital outlay and things along those lines. And the biggest portion of that is over, I want to say, let me come down and take a look at this, is the debt service. And it's close to $600,000-700,000, but it's a debt service for the ops headquarters. We're paying off the building this year. So that's almost half of that amount. And so that amount of money is not necessary to come in and pay that debt service. We were taking it out of the Special Project Fund, Fund 108. So the good news is we don't have, the building will be paid off, and we're able to reduce our expenditures a significant amount. So that's the majority of it. Some of the others is less money going towards certain capital outlay with the proposed rate adjustment. We're moving more money into the operating budget. So the operating budget is actually absorbing a significant portion of that capital outlay budget. We don't have to rely upon the Special Project Fund in Fund 108.
thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
On the expenditure side, I'm sorry, if you could go back. Salaries and benefits did have increases, as you can see. Service and supplies, that's a huge increase. And what we're looking at is nearly 600,000 of that is for CPPA electric rates. We have 180,000 in chemicals, 225,000 in service maintenance contracts, and then obviously fuel and so forth. So the normal culprits, power, chemicals, and fuel are driving those cost increases. Capital outlay, I'll get into that a little bit later. And as you can see, debt service has gone down because we've paid off a few items. And again, the building's paid off. And the building was paid off and some of our other debt has gone down. So we can move to the next slide, please. Here's showing with the different revenues in the more detail. Director Cicada, if you have any questions from your notes, we can cover them now, if you'd like, because this is where we'll talk about revenues.
On my notes in the operating revenue, account establishment fees, I just didn't realize there was so much. So somebody's setting up a new account and they have to pay us all these additional fees, or is it just like, the new connection fee stuff?
No, that is the new connection fees go into the expansion funds. Those are the capacity fees. These are new hookup fees that go into the hookup, the meter, the inspection, and all that process.
Okay.
And we have a number of developers getting ready to do some building. So this one's actually a little conservative if those developments actually come online sooner. But this is
Okay.
what the cost of actually a brand new hookup, excluding the expansion fees.
Okay, and then right below that, delinquent account charges, how much we brought in year to date? I mean, I could have looked further in my package perhaps, but
Actually, we're way below budget, but one of the things that we are looking at within customer service, and I think we mentioned it to you in a prior meeting, is that we're looking to be able to start charging late fees again. And that's a process, and once we get that process going this year, we should be able to meet the budgeted target.
okay. I just want to make sure that we're not, putting too much there if it's something we really can't collect. Lower
Understood,
that or
I agree.
something. Okay. That's it on that page for me.
Next page, please, Catherine. These are the non-operating revenues. As you can see, we're making more money in property tax, North Fork and New Hogan, but we're taking a huge hit on interest income. And
Okay.
the reason for that is when we did the budget last year, we still had significant fund balances in water and sewer, the 300 and 500 account. Once we split those funds out, the 101 account, which we talked about, that drove the balances down. We're not going to be earning any interest in the sewer side. Water side is coming down dramatically. As you can see, we're hoping to get a little bit more revenue than 15,000. I'm just being a little bit conservative there.
Can I make a request when this comes to the full board, can we just put water and sewer instead of 300 and 500?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Consider it done.
Okay. And and just on the same subject, when we get to the next few slides, it's going to be, 50, 54, 56, 57, 58. If there's a way of either on that same page, put a legend at the bottom as what each of those are, and there's room on some pages, but if not, if we could just put like admin or GM or board of direct BOD, I mean, whatever, if there is a small, instead of the codes,
Yeah, abbreviation. of
the
some kind.
backroom codes, accounting codes that we use. And I know we got these beautiful laminated sheets and I brought them all so I could decipher what we're looking at. But if we don't,
I had the
if-
same thing last time, but you know what I did when I went through my package? I went and wrote them all because I was told, when I look in the detail, it tells me what the
Right.
account is.
right,
I have
right.
that same thing.
But instead of having to go
Yeah.
from, to a legend in some other page, if there's a way of fitting them in there. If we
But it
could-
was an exercise for me.
Yeah.
I might just
And-
know some of those.
I know you're gonna learn them that way.
There
You
we
don't
go.
wanna have to learn them. They just automatically come to you.
Okay, here we go.
Sorry, go ahead.
Chairman Ratterman, consider it done
Okay, thank you, sir.
on both accounts. Any questions on revenues, the
I'm
non-operating?
good on that.
Move on. We're good.
Here's the transfers coming in. And as you can see, as I mentioned, debt service is lower. We've taken less money out of the special project fund for capital outlay, and the operating fund has gone down as well. So overall, our total revenues and transfers in are going to be just over 27,400,000. Next slide, please. Here is the beginning of the expenditure budget, and I'm going to go quickly through this because it really, a lot of this is the details in the individual departments. But I just want to let you know as we go through this, we're still kind of going back and reviewing all the numbers, making sure everything is accurate. The goal is to have everything, the preliminary budget done by the end of this week, so Michael can review it all next week before it goes out into the board packet next week from Friday. So there may be some changes here and there, and we'll let you know what they are, but we continually review and see what's going on. In addition to that, we're going to be taking all your comments and suggestions today and incorporating those into the budget as well.
Jeff,
So as we-
if I could back
Sure.
up just a second here, I was looking for the right time to jump in on revenue, and since we're moving on, do you mind going back one slide for just a minute? Because we don't have to get into the weeds of this right now, but I think it's a good time to just at least introduce the topic of the R&R fund moving forward, because the transfers in, you covered it, earlier, but that includes a part of the reason we have to do that is because of the R&R, because of our rate structure, basically. And so one of the things we're looking at in going forward when we look at rate design is whether we need to continue to do that, because it's really just an accounting exercise on our part. It's an internal restriction that we've placed on funds that we don't necessarily have to continue to do. It's definitely served its purpose over the last 10 years. But it makes things a little bit more complicated and harder to understand from an accounting perspective, and it limits our flexibility in terms of how we utilize all of our revenue.
You're saying that fund will go away in this new rate?
So that's one of the things we want to talk about, and that's the recommendation from IB Consulting, is that we shift to just we're not having the kind of the bifurcated rate revenue that we have right now that creates some accounting challenges. So
Is that the R&R, the requirement that we create an R&R fund? So we did that, what, in 2000?
it was 2013,
Okay,
I think, and like I said, it was dedicated towards addressing that concern of raising rates and then actually implementing projects and seeing those projects come to fruition, which I think we have a pretty good track record of over the last 10 years. But it creates some accounting.
well, the
challenges.
track record might be that way because of the way that
Right,
that requirement.
right.
That
But the
requirement
question
was
is, do we
because-
need to continue to do that?
Okay. I'm gonna say hell yes.
That's
I'm
being-
gonna say absolutely, yeah, that was something that was, tie in the hands of, you guys aren't gonna be here forever. That requirement took a 4/5 vote, which we're probably gonna get, but I don't want to see that go away. I want to see the requirement that those dedicated funds from that one, we have another rate, possibly another rate increase coming up this year. We had another one on top of it 5 years ago, which I don't see any, transfers in, transfers out, we can call it something else.
Well, it's more than that. I mean, it creates some challenges in terms of funding projects and.
You know what, for the next meeting, you might want to be, like for the board meeting, be more clear and specifically tell us where those challenges are, because I just hear, oh, there's some challenges in
Well,
accounting.
yeah, and
you
I
know.
was, I really the time to bring it up would be that, well, I don't want to wait until the July 12th meeting. That's why I wanted.
Well, I'm not gonna be at the
touch on
July-
it here.
I'm not gonna be on at that July 12th meeting, but that was, when that fund was created, when the R&R fund was created, it required that that amount of money, whatever it is, and it's gonna be smaller percentage as time goes on, because it's just that 1 year's rate increase
Right.
has to be spent on capital improvement or R&R, replacement of existing infrastructure.
Right, and I think from where we've been now,
I'd like-
and this is a board call, so it's perfectly fine if we want to keep it. I think it served its purpose and it did that job.
Well, I wanted to continue to serve its purpose for the next 20 years, and not just that
That's-
10-year, it's only 10 years. And for the 10 years before that, it wasn't there. We weren't spending money on CIP.
Right, but I think there's other ways to do that and still get the projects done
Well,
that are a little easier from an accounting perspective, but we can dive into that in more detail. Absolutely.
yeah, and if you say there's another way to do it, bring that to the table too, because I'm inclined to keep it. I think it helps with accountability. And
Right.
so if there is another way, propose that. you know, we don't want to do the R&R, we want to do whatever that is.
We'll do it. Sounds good.
Yeah, there's a whatever that dollar amount or that percentage is right now, how do we capture that and keep it the same? Where that amount of money still has to go into that fund and can only be spent, can't be spent on raises or new buildings or new projects or anything.
Did it have a sunset though?
No.
Well,
No.
I mean, it's part of the rate structure, so it does, in the sense that every time the rate structure is.
Unless we get rid of it, and we didn't get rid of it last
Right.
time, obviously, and we're talking about getting rid of it this time. And I, as just a rate study, talking about getting rid of it and not as a conscious decision that we don't want to spend money on or to have dedicated money. Well, if the rate structure can still have that amount, whatever it is.
If anything, it would be because we want to create more flexibility to make us more effective in achieving projects, not less. So but
Okay, and if
we can dive into that
And,
detail.
and the word flexibility is what scares me. And.
Yeah.
And if going future,
Board members even for that.
or yeah, I mean, it just to.
Changing board
who-
members,
I mean,
maybe.
as these seats change, all of those in this building change and these seats up here change. That's one thing that should remain as a constant, that we're always maintaining our CIP. We've gotten so much
Completely
praise.
agree. No, we're 100% on the same page on that. It's just a
But-
question of this.
But maybe making that rate structure percentage something that might be a little bit easier for accounting wise.
Yeah. So we'll take that and then we'll bring back more detail on what that
Yeah.
would look like.
Cool.
Okay. Move on.
But
move
we're on the same
Jeffrey.
page as far as
Yeah.
implementing.
Yeah.
projects.
No,
Well, I know you are, but at least this way it's kind of like that money's earmarked for that. So, okay.
Okay, Jeff,
Okay.
back to you.
Okay. I'm just going to scroll through this quickly because I'd rather do it in the individual ones, but this gives you a summary of salary and benefit costs. And what you're looking at is we've had some retirements, we've had people leave, we've had people come in. You have lower steps for new people on some of them, similar steps, step increases, COLAs. But all in all, we're doing, we're looking at kind of holding the line on salaries and benefits. Next page, please. And I'm going to scroll through this very quickly because I really would rather dive into the individual departments.
Just one quick comment though, on the retirement expense, it's in the, it's lower. And that's because of that change we made, by letting people buy out.
Now, that
The
would be-
retirement
that-
expense.
That's
Why is
different.
it
This
less, I guess?
Yeah. That's a different component. Retirement expenses are less because of that and because of our rates. And part of it too is that as the older people retire who are on Classic, they're being replaced by newer employees getting into Pepra, and their
Oh, okay.
retirement costs are less.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Here is our first line right there, $787,000 increase. And this really doesn't put it into perspective because if you go back a little over a year and a half, over the last year and a half, 2 years, our CPPA costs have doubled. Doubled. It is significant.
On this page, Jeff,
Yes.
under materials and supplies, admin only has $250. Is that supposed to be $2,500?
No, we shifted our conservation supplies to Department 60 Water Resources.
So is $250 for material supplies going to be enough for the administrative department?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm so impressed you knew that was admin, buddy.
Hey, I told you I learned my lesson. I'm pretty sure. I got a
Good
cheat sheet
job.
right here. though.
Okay. Next slide, please. Another number that jumps out here, chemicals up 178,000. That's big. One other thing, if you look at admin technologies, we pulled quite a bit of the funding back into Department 59, that's admin services, but we are also charging some of the individual departments for some of their costs, like laptops and things like that. And I don't know if Brandon is in the room or online. No, he would be online. But if you have any questions for that, I could dive in deeper. He's not feeling well. He's home sick today.
I'm here if you guys need us, if you guys have questions that need to be answered.
You sound plugged up.
I don't have any questions, Brandon.
When we get into the weeds, I will go back to some of these things, but
Okay. And speaking of getting into the weeds, I'll defer the admin services 357,000 to when we get into the weeds.
okay.
And it's service maintenance contracts. Are we gonna wait on that one as well?
Yes.
That's
'cause
the
we
one
got
I
a
was-
Big discussion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fuel prices going up, repair components, we're having more vehicles it's costing us a little bit more money. Any questions on this particular budget, this particular item?
No.
Okay,
Nope.
next page, please. No real significant changes on this particular page. Had some decreases and increases. I think it's probably better discussed in the individual departments.
Yep, I agree.
This page shows capital outlay, which I'll have a next slide. There's a slide coming up that shows a little bit more detail, and it also shows your debt service. So you can see the decrease of 650,000 for the ops headquarters loan, which is nice to get that thing paid off of. So, any questions here?
No.
Next slide, please.
Congratulations on the building getting paid off. That is
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, it's always good to retire debt. That's even internal debt.
Wholeheartedly agree, Chairman Ratterman. Here is the capital outlay budget. Right now, it includes 29 vehicles that we currently own that we're leased to own, that is. And then we're looking at 12 more new vehicles. The items in the center are equipment requests from utilities. And I believe Damon is still there and can answer these questions a lot better than I can, as well as some of the projects if you have any particular questions.
I'm just curious, like on the warehouse furniture, equipment and tools for the new building. Do you guys, I imagine, look for used stuff first that are still
Absolutely.
just checking?
Yeah, and for the capital outlay, that's really mostly associated with desks and
Yeah.
shelves and,
I mean, being in a shop
fire
like that, they're
resistant.
gonna get so dirty, you would think.
when it comes to tools like on the capital outlay, you'll see the tire balancer.
Yeah,
That would be, excuse me, an additional tool to the shop or warehouse, but for the most part over the years, what I try to do is, any tool is going to be broken out in an independent capital outlay request. And then furniture, rather than say, 3 desks, 4
Right.
desks or whatever,
Furniture.
it'll just be furniture. Yeah. So you guys could really just dive right into the exact item. I mean,
But to your point, we do that with everything.
Yeah.
We looked, in fact,
Yeah,
Dan and I had
yeah.
a discussion about the vac trailer even, and they're, I knew that I suspected this would probably be the answer that we get, but we always have the discussion about, hey, is there another one we can find somewhere else cheaper? And, that's a specialized piece of equipment. They're probably gonna be impossible to find used, but we're at least gonna try
Yeah.
first before we go out.
and it's gonna be so important going into this rate study, because the more you can prove to our ratepayers, you're doing everything you can, to save money in areas that you can, versus others, we can't. Fuel, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
think-
really,
Electric, it is what it is.
yeah, and not to jump around too much, but if you look at the fuel expenditures this fiscal year for operations compared to 2022, we're below that with 3 additional employees. And so that's also with vehicle operating expenses and repairs. And I think that's directly related to the enterprise program.
So you're having newer vehicles, better gas mileage. that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Great.
Right, and we've added a mechanics truck and we've added a bucket truck, the world famous bucket truck.
Yeah.
And we've added 3 staff to the utility crew. So that, I mean, that's an aside from capital outlay, but really that's,
These are the
Yeah.
things that you need to keep running tallying on, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So when it
doing-
comes up, it's right there.
Well, I got a question on the vac trailer. I got
Yes.
two questions, actually. Is
yeah.
Are we hauling that thing around now and it's not no longer driving itself?
So we currently don't have one. So what happens is we have 2 newer Vactor trucks. One's a Gap Vax, one's a Vacon. The Vacon's in copper, the Gap Vax is in lock antenna. And then we have a 2014 vintage Vacon on Ebbets Pass. And we used to have, we also have an additional spare Vacon that is low miles, low population county. It can only be used, really, it gets devils in the details, but about 1,000 miles per year is what you can drive it for. And pretty soon, we're gonna have to just mothball it completely because it's a 2003, the whole emissions requirement. We don't have a vac trailer at all. So if we have an issue in West Point where we need to bring a Vactor piece of equipment up to blow down on a water main, we're driving from either lock antenna, copper, the pass, or we're taking the low population piece of equipment vac on up there. So this would allow our folks in West Point to be able to operate independently. It's a trailer, so it's not a big giant, you're thinking of a Vacon, you're thinking of a huge Vacon with a boom truck. This is a small
Oh, so
trailer.
it's not the truck driving up on a trailer. It's mounting the vac equipment on a trailer instead of.
Exactly right. It's a pull trailer. You can tow it
Okay.
with a 1-ton truck, has a boom on it. You can go like 2 people could operate it. You can get into tight spaces. It's really kind of designed for a West Point application or a small
Okay.
system application.
So that way the guys in West Point aren't having to wait until another one's available and have that crew then relocate for the day, or at least one of them relocate for the day and dedicate that time to West Point. It becomes a logistics challenge, plus you lose some efficiency there.
Right. And you're putting a vac on or a Gap Vax from lock antenna on the road on Highway 26 up to West Point and back.
Yeah,
Putting wear and tear on that
I
piece
just-
of equipment.
just drove that again. That is
It-
tighter than I
it's
remember.
Such a calm, relaxing drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I have a sports car.
Yes, and to your question about, do we look for used pieces of equipment? We do, and with a vac trailer, they're beat up and they're 2014 vintage, and so the engine family generally isn't something that we can use when you consider the emissions requirements.
Yeah, so that will probably have to be a new purchase, but I think the ATVs is an example, Damon, of the initial request was we need some new ones. And then we were able to, not even go out and buy used ones, but repair and repurpose some of our existing. So
Yep.
we're always trying to do that before we ask to buy equipment.
Okay, my other question is on the GPS systems. Are we
Mhm.
mounting them in the vehicle?
They would be, yep.
And doesn't everybody already have one?
It
I mean, they
does.
already have but it was about phone service or something for
Well, this is
70 vehicles?
to the vehicle itself. So if the vehicle were to be, if you were to be separated from your vehicle, we could find your vehicle through the OBD sensor. So right now, I want to say we pay, it's a wash of about $7,000 between what we pay now for, we have this, we have a geolocating software now that we pay a licensing fee for annually.
Like LoJack?
It's through Columbia, through our 2-way radios, so it only works
Oh.
when the radios turn on. And so this would be on all the time. So if you were to hike down to the Bear Creek diversion and,
We don't hear from you.
and all of a sudden your vehicle disappeared, we could go find it, independent of where you're at with your cell phone.
So it's for stolen vehicles? Or-
It's really for
Or
the
a
district,
safety
it's a
thing for
safety
the
thing.
employee.
Yeah,
Oh, no one, okay.
it's like you call me at 2 a.m. Hey, there's a storm. I'm driving up to this place. If I don't call you in 2 hours, come
Look
looking
for
for
me.
me.
Yeah.
Well, there you are. you know?
Okay.
Yeah, in some areas I see the value of that.
Yeah, and we can put it into the sensor and then it's optimized through enterprise. So the other thing that we can do is we can monitor vehicle efficiency with fuel, refueling, mileage, all through enterprise. And so it kind of starts to fall down this rabbit hole of you can incorporate that geo tab with your work order software. And so then if we think about our big trucks, like our bid inspections and our 1-ton vehicle inspections, we can also start to think about how we can bring all that information into one spot through the GPS location, through MMS, and make it all easier and more efficient to work from.
Okay. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Jeffrey.
Okay, next slide, please. We covered debt service briefly. This is just a little bit more detail. As you can see, there's adjustments made each year, but again, the operations headquarter payoff is the main one as we're looking at here. Next slide, please. Next steps. Once we finish today, we're going to incorporate your comments and directions into the draft budget. It becomes then the preliminary budget. It will go to the board June 14th and adoption on June 28th. Now
Okay.
comes some fun part. You ready to get into the weeds?
Yes. Do you want me to go first with my notes?
No, please.
Okay. So I'm gonna be on this page. It looks like it might be page 3. It's the operating budget expenditures and departments are going across the top.
Is that part of the
So-
agenda package?
Yeah, I'm the agenda package, yeah. So I'm
Okay.
kind of done with your presentation. I'm going to the weeds.
Got it.
I'm gonna
So if
try
you-
and go to the weeds because you see it here and then you gotta go. Anyhow, the one I'd
Understood.
like to, I made that comment to you about the materials and supplies being $250. You're comfortable with that?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm still on this page. Is that where you're at? Yeah, that looks like about it. So the admin technologies, I'd like to move over to, I mean, only 2,400 for the GM, right? General management. Is that enough compared to the other two? But I'd like to see what all that consists of. So I'm gonna go to administrative. And let's read that together and see if I have any comments as to why.
Is that
Do, do,
Department
do, do, do.
56?
Yeah. And where is it? Got that. That's a big thing to talk about.
Department 56 is what?
No, go to Department
That-
59. I want to see, like, you're spending, you want to spend 76,000 in the admin technologies. So Department 59 administrative. So I want to
Okay.
get in that detail in the back, the weeds, to say what we're spending it on. So I was trying to find it, even with glasses on, I don't. 18.
Admin technologies?
Yeah,
Okay. The
I
76,000.
still don't see it. Hang on.
And that's what page 18 is what page of 83?
I don't see it. What the heck? I even have glasses and contacts on. Oh, I see it now. Okay, I see it. Gosh, I need like 2 pairs of glasses. How dorky is that? All right, so looking at these things on. I even have contacts on, but they're new contacts for distance only. So what is standing out here? Is that email cloud backup, $12,000? So same with like the service contracts that we have. Have we looked into that and, you know, how do all those computers have those backups? Can we do any kind of a consolidating to where there's only maybe the laptops back up to this big server and only one server goes up to the iCloud? So we don't have $12,000 worth of backup fees?
I
Really?
can add some
Why is
clarity there.
Oh, there you go.
So we do only backup. This is for our this specific part of it is only for our server backup as well as our email backup. We don't back up individual devices. The devices save the files to the file server, and that is what is backed up. This is also a 3-year cost. So this is we're paying for every 3 years.
So this 23,000 for the whatever backup.
That is for
Whatever
the
that,
that's for the appliance that performs the backup functionality. The email and cloud backup is actually really just for our Microsoft 365 environment. So that backs up our email. It doesn't actually do the file server backups or the files on our systems. It only performs the backup of our email systems, our communication elements, as well as our SharePoint systems that we use for interoffice communications, things like that.
what is our total cost for backups of any kind? The total backups annually? What do we pay on that?
That is the combination of those two line items, the email cloud backup and the file backup.
And that is
Is the file,
So that's the 12,500
35,000.
and the 2341.
36,000.
Yes.
So it's 36,000 to ensure we don't lose our files.
but the email, you said it's a 4-year number?
It's a
3 year?
3-year number. It's a
So
3-year
we're only
number.
gonna see this particular number every 3 years.
Yes, currently,
And the file backup is 23,000 for 1 year?
correct.
Okay.
It just seems like it's a very large cost. Yes, it's needed, but yeah, I'm trying to pick out ways that we could save some money. And I just see this and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, okay. So you guys are putting your heads together and trying to figure it out.
That would be a
Bring
hard
it
one.
to your
We-
attention.
Yeah, we can't risk not having those files backed
Absolutely.
up. So it's just a question of what's the most
Yeah,
efficient
but
way to
is
do
there,
it.
exactly, can that be looked at more? I mean, ask the questions of you folks, because that's what I'm supposed to do.
I will let you know, we are in our contract for this particular service as ends this coming year. And I am actually looking at alternatives. We're still under
Great.
contract from, it was a 5-year contract. So I am actually, it is on my list to look at alternatives this year for our file backup solution. The email backup, the email cloud backup will be something that would persist for another 2 years.
All right, well, thank you for looking into that.
No problem.
I see these things and I just want to bring them to the attention. Building and repairs, $40,000. It's, it's 55,000 this budget, 15, and these are the repairs out in the field, right? Because it is in the utility section. So that building that we just did, that we had people complain about, these are the kinds of things you're talking.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so this is
that
gonna
is-
be like a 1-year kind of cost. After that, everything should be a little bit more mellow, back in the 15,000 range.
That would be our objective. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna move on.
Can I throw in a question on that page that you were just on
Mhm.
on page
Yeah.
56 of 83? Is the same on the Tyler stuff.
Oh, we haven't even gotten to that one yet.
Is that,
Oh, that's on my list.
okay,
too.
no,
Think
go
of
ahead.
that.
I won't ask now then.
So I'm gonna go to the page 2. Not page 2, it's page 4, actually. So, and again, I noticed some things like I'm asking why they're less, which is a good thing, but I want to make sure there's no key punch error like there was one budget or two ago. So looking at the laboratory services, 145,000, it was 165,000 this year. So is that still a good number?
Yeah, it is. We were
Okay.
able to go to a different lab and
Perfect.
achieve a cost savings. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
Good
looking
on.
for that.
Yep.
250 should be 2,500 kind of a thing.
Gotcha.
And here's another one. So the, I can't really read it. Rentals. So we're looking for 5,000 when we had 56,000 last time. Do we want to go in the weeds or you just want to tell me what that?
Yes, so the majority of that cost was associated with leasing the warehouse and the shop. So all that goes
Great.
away. Yeah. And
Great.
so we still have some money in there for anything.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah.
Good savings, yeah.
Yeah.
And then professional services is a big jump. Do you want to go to that? In the weeds and look, or if somebody just want to tell?
Let's look from ops
It's,
perspective.
it's increased $174,000, it looks like. So it's overall the departments for the most part. So what are those professional services for, I guess? I'll go
Well,
back and look
so
again.
which page are you on? It depends on where
I
you're
am on
looking.
page 4 of this still.
41 of 80.
Oh, the board
Oh, I
packet.
got 41.
Yep, you know what, you guys, I'm sorry, because I just picked out. some.
Oh,
So that's
42.
the overall summary, right?
Right.
Yeah, if you
So,
look,
'cause
yeah,
I think the largest increase, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jeff, but off the top of my head, on professional services is gonna be water resources. And
there was also an increase, Michael, with carryover of DVP work that I
Oh,
put in as a
okay,
request
Kennedy
in,
James
in
contract.
operations professional
Yeah.
services.
So these
but the
are,
larger one will be in water resources, and some of it is actually going to be reimbursable depending on where we stand. So we're in the process right now of talking to NCPA about jointly retaining a consultant that we would split the cost of 50/50, but CCWD would be the fiscal agent for the contract. So we would pay the full amount, we have to budget for the full amount, and half of it would be reimbursable to us. And then there's some additional professional services there and water resources as well.
Right. And if I may jump in here, that particular service that we're looking at for the FERC relicensing, that budget item is $200,000. So that's a big jump from last year, which
okay,
pretty much takes up the whole 174,000.
Right,
Great.
and so we half of that potentially, if we were to use that full amount for that purpose, would be reimbursable. And then our half, our thought is we would draw from our FERC license reserve for that, so it doesn't impact the rest of the operating budget.
okay, so still on this same page, I'm going down to the vehicle maintenance. I know it's utilities, but we're asking for 36.5, and this current year we only did 10.2, so why is that?
So
increased so much?
So that will include this, all of the vehicles will have a maintenance card from Enterprise, not just Enterprise leased vehicles. And that will allow us to do, with that card, brake jobs and oil changes, freeing up our mechanics to do other work, pumps, motors, what have you.
So one of the things, we're trying to be more efficient.
Mhm.
So we spend $120,000. In this case, we're going to spend $36,000 to be more efficient. Does that actually pencil out? So when we tell the customers, we're just putting out 36,000 ahead of the game for all the oil changes
Yeah.
and whatever. I mean, what does that come out per car kind of a thing?
Yeah, I can break that down per car, but it's very easy to tell our customers from a very high level that if we don't have to ask a mechanic to sit in the shop to work on all
Oil
of these
change.
older district vehicles, right? They can actually go out in the field and assist other crews, work with their department to get work done.
That might be something to say that it's X amount per vehicle and however many.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
And I'm just kind of saying what a customer might ask,
Yep,
just to.
yeah, and I actually.
How many vehicles is that? 60, 30? It's that kind of a thing. And when you can break it down. by
70.
vehicles,
If we're looking at
It's
GPS.
70, yeah.
I don't know, but that's.
70 vehicles.
70 vehicles. And if that's the case at 36,000, I guess,
I also think that, although only 10,200 was budgeted in fiscal year 2023, we've actually.
We're over
actual To
budget.
date is higher than.
Yeah.
and just things, I mean, not so much for me, but, just in general passing, I want to say it's X amount per car as well.
It's $340 per vehicle.
See, and when you look at it that way, it doesn't look so bad.
Right, yeah, and yeah, exactly. Yep.
Just question it. All right.
Okay, good decision then.
It
Yeah.
is. It really is. Yeah.
So, still on the same page. Does it say purchased water? It's down 34,000.
I can answer that one.
Okay.
I have CPUD as serving me water as well, and their rates went up significantly.
Yeah, but it's,
Is it that purchased water?
the purchased
That is-
water,
Yeah.
the ask went down compared to what our current ask is.
Oh,
It's $34,000 less. So is that is that correct?
So
Actually,
that, go ahead, Jeff.
certainly, that title is a misnomer. It's
Mhm.
really our New Hogan cost is the majority of that.
Oh,
When you look at the 474,
okay.
Huh.
we've got to do a better job of splitting out purchased water from our New Hogan costs and coming up with a different account number. My apologies on that.
Okay, so that 34,000 less is good. I mean, that's awesome, but,
There's no change for ops. We
Yeah.
requested the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
and again, I'm just trying to pull out,
Yeah.
any potential
Hmm.
typo things.
Sure.
And
Who-
so here we are.
Well, who are we
Okay.
purchasing water from at New Hogan?
We pay it's the fee we pay to the Army Corps for the cost of the storage.
And didn't that cost go up like 500,000 in one year?
It was, I want to say it was 300 and it went up to where it is now, which is over 5. So I too am wondering why this one went down so much. And Jeff, maybe we do.
We'll highlight that and just look, just to make sure. It's better to do it now instead of have to amend it later
Right.
and then whatever.
Because that's a
Well-
fixed 5-year cost.
You're gonna change the name of that, Jeff?
Yes,
From
it
Or
is.
water,
water purchase to something dealing with Hogan?
Right,
New
and to
Hogan.
take a look at prior year, in 2021, that cost was 468. In 2022, that cost was 471. We also added some money last year because of the additional purchases, maybe for CPUD
Yeah, so
through
which is our
West
wholesale
Point
water
and
contract,
also,
not,
Right.
right.
yeah.
so you guys will
So-
revisit that. Perfect. All right, so going down on the same page, I'm at something water rate fees. That's also down 65,000 from this current year. Is that accurate?
State.
Oh, so state water,
Water right fees,
yeah, it's,
page 42 of 83.
70 or 65,000 less. So is that cool, or it would be nice if it was, but let's just double check.
Those were based on what Brad provided me, and there's a couple things that I'm looking at on the detail that shows zeros now. I'll go into more detail on that.
Yeah,
work
let
with
me
him.
look at the detail here real quick, because it might have just been this year had some higher costs.
The change
Okay.
petition fees, non-consumptive water rights, extension fees.
Some of that, so the change petition fees should be done.
Yes.
So some of that may have just been a higher cost for this fiscal that is going back down now.
Cool.
On
It's
how,
low.
how difficult would it be, excuse me, Cindy,
Go ahead.
on just on on presentation on this one to have 2 years on here? How, Catherine, would that be, instead of just having 22, 23 adopted, have 2 historic years? Just, oh. Or, yeah,
But, if you look at each department, it is broken out that way.
right, no, I mean, on this particular,
Jeff?
that, I might be a lot of crazy numbers, but I mean, it seems you would be able to see these trends going up and down if there was a trend or a 1-year bump, and now we're back to the previous, where it used to be. If last year was the bump and we're going back down now,
You know,
Is it-
the other thing, having the detail
would that help you?
and back a little bit more, and I do go through that, but sometimes it's just hard to read, and since I'm bringing it up, and if he just looks and tells us, sometimes it's easier instead of us all flipping our pages. Sorry, Jeff.
That's okay.
Okay,
We
so
can take
that
a
one
look
is
at that,
okay.
Director Radaman. Part of it is sometimes there's so much information on a single page, it gets real small and difficult to read, but I'll
Right.
take a look and see if we can do that. That's why I expanded the actual department pages to, instead of 1 year, adding 2 years worth of prior year expenditures.
No, that's good. If it's already there, we don't need to have it here too. This is already very small.
And right
Okay.
below that same line item, something plans, I don't remember what it was, I looked on screen, but
Mandated.
that- so that's 22,000 less for the ask this year, or the
Yes.
draft versus this, so that's good too.
Yes, that's because we're coming to the end on the local hazard mitigation plan update.
Cool. So now one of my favorites is the third party posting. why is it still high? I do see that it's 30,000 for one and, 12 for another one. We're just eventually, will this be the last year for having credit card fees for the most part?
We still have the global, that's gonna be a pass-through that we have to pay.
Okay.
The other 12,000 is for our check processing.
But we're
the
not paying
CPI
credit card fees.
lockbox.
Cool.
So we
Oh, it was
anticipate global
80,000
going
something
down,
before, so.
and it'll be much less than next
More.
year. This one can actually, I'll double check this number, but the CPI lockbox, that cost is fixed as long as we outsource our check processing for bills.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm done on that page.
So but that is a significant decrease in cost there.
We only budgeted 47,000 last year, but again, our actual to date is over 100. I want to say it's over 120,000.
Right, because it took us a lot longer than we anticipated to actually implement that change. So yeah, we're down probably 100,000 in that line item
Yeah.
year over year.
But we're significant savings at this point each month.
Yeah.
Now that it's.
Well, you're going through, you're phasing it out, so that's the main thing.
Oh, it's out. It's paid.
Good.
The question is, I think that we could maybe bring back next month, because I don't think it's gonna impact this, well, at least we're not ready to make a recommendation to change the budget as of right now. But e-billing was successful for the first time this last week.
Oh, yeah.
We now have a fully paperless e-billing.
That's wonderful. That's safe.
And so one question we've been kicking around a little bit that I think maybe would be a good agenda item for next finance committee
Mhm.
is whether or not it makes sense for us to, because right now we have the $2 fixed transaction fee for any transaction that goes through Tyler, and then the 3.9% credit card surcharge fee. And so the question we're contemplating is whether it makes sense for us to go back and actually absorb the $2 transaction fee again, if we can push a bunch of people to e-billing.
Well-
And because we've gotten some
So
pushback.
why
from
don't,
that.
if you do e-billing, then that saves you on postage, then absorb their cost.
So that's what we
Only
were just
for
talking about.
e-billing.
That we just had that discussion this morning. So why don't we agendize that for next finance? Because there's some challenges there, but it's something at least worth considering. So
And are we planning on having a finance committee meeting in June?
I believe so.
When, for what days are you on vacation?
I am on vacation the 19th through the 26th.
And I'm on vacation all of those days too, all the way to the July 3rd from the 18th.
I can certainly have the agenda ready before I leave. You guys want to?
But that won't, but it'll just be Cindy. Oh, and who's who's our alternate here?
Bertha.
Bertha.
Bertha? Okay.
So
We'll see how it
the,
goes. If you don't need one, you don't need one.
Or if we have it before the 18th.
Yeah, we had talked about skipping June due to the amount of budget.
I guess we did talk about that. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
don't see the regular
We saw
meeting
that
would
in
be
the-
on the,
That was in the minutes from last meeting we talked.
yeah, the regular meeting would be on the 20th, but I don't see it on the calendar. So I guess, yeah, we're planning on canceling that.
So
It's not gonna have a big impact on the budget, so that we can bring that back in July.
So the last thing this to me is kind of a complaint-ish thing, with the service contracts. It's not a complaint, it's just like, oh my God, how much is that? Right, I'm on the details page. So we have.
What page? Number?
Mine says 18.
Okay.
Thank you, I'm sorry. Anyhow, the service maintenance contracts, and it's broken down by department, but the total, please help me out, is it 357, I can't see it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyhow, and so I'm looking at, Tyler for miscellaneous AR, 16,000 a year. Now, are these 3-year?
Mhm.
Yeah,
No,
this is
these are
every
annual
year.
Costs.
Yeah, so and again, I'm sorry, I just can't see him. I did have 2 classes on at home.
Do we?
But is there any way that we can, so like, you have user license fees. So for instance, QuickBooks, you pay for, 3 users, you pay more. Is there any particular, does Tyler do something like that? And if it's like for the accounts receivable, something, can you just have like 1 or 2 computers instead of all 5? I mean, is there some way to consolidate to bring this number down?
It's the module.
Okay, so that's Tyler. What about, there's something for engineering, and of course, we need all those engineerings I'm looking for. And so how many user IDs do we get out of that? If there's like 10 plus, do we really need it for everybody? Maybe we do. I don't know. But can that be looked at to where, how can we,
It's
so that's Tyler we're talking about. Okay, let's pass on.
Well, like if you were gonna talk about an engineering, like I would say like CAD,
Yeah,
not every person in the engineering department has a license. So, and in ops too. So if there are certain things that require online or an annual license fee, not everyone's gonna have access to that. Yeah.
so maybe if you guys could just look at this, and if we as a board said, sorry, you can't have 300 and whatever that number is, you can only have 250, what would you get rid of, if anything? Just amongst yourself, do that, just to see if there's some way to save something. Does everybody have to, like we talked about the backup and IT, it's just such a huge number, so we could be efficient. So tell me how much it's gonna take for our efficiency before we get our money back on that.
Well, I mean,
Where are
in
we
general,
saving
though,
to do that?
that is the process that we go through and, before we even bring this draft to the board. But it is always good to have this kind of feedback, because then we can go back and make sure we didn't miss anything.
Look again, we're going into a rate study. We're asking to increase our revenues 21%. So where else can we potentially take away? And maybe we can't. It's just, to me, is, that's all. And that's really my only comments on all this. I mean, everything else, all the increases made sense to me. Salaries increase, we have more employees now. It's, that kind of thing. But some of these, it's like, how can we scale back? And when I hear that word efficiency, I get it. But when we're spending $130,000 on a truck to be efficient, where is that break even point to now we're done paying for efficiency and now it's efficient? And with these service contracts, I know with Tyler, it's like, it is what it is. Cause we
Why?
left
that-
Springbrook and we have Tyler.
That's where my question is. When we get a bill from Tyler, is it broken out like this? We get this many bills from Tyler, or did we break this out?
That's annually.
So we
Director
get a
Ackerman?
miscellaneous AR bill, we get a core financial bill, we get a fixed asset, we get a personnel, or did we do, this many, they do this many different things for us, and are all these necessary?
Well, what they do is they try and do all this so you can't do anything. So you're constantly having to keep them up.
Well,
You
and
know what I
some
mean?
of it has still yet to be implemented. We are circling back on that. I mean, we've kind of committed to this path a couple of years ago. But if there's a way to save anything here, then yeah, absolutely. We'll go back and look at it.
And Jeff, you were gonna say something?
Yes, the numbers you see here are directly off their invoice dated 4/1, April 1st of this year. And those amounts are what we are invoiced for each of the modules on an annual basis. And, if you look at utilities CIS, that's our billing system, accounts receivable, it's the billing system, the financial system, the HR system, the project module, the fixed asset system. So these
And
are
you
all
said
the
it's
things
a
that
it's a
we,
charge on each module.
yes, it is.
And how many modules are we charged for then?
All the ones that you see here, but in reality, when you look at
Oh,
miscellaneous
these are
accounts,
different. Each one of these line items is a module, or a computer in that room is a module. What,
All
No.
of the ones under Tyler,
those are modules?
under Tyler, yes.
where it says.
Okay.
Our modules in Tyler.
Okay. And do we have, are they optional? Are any of them optional? And are all they all necessary?
They are all
Or they-
necessary.
And
This is what we need to be able to function on a financial side, we have to do accounts receivable. We have to do core financial work. We have project accounting that we do, fixed assets. That, a lot of that is on the finance and accounting side. There's stuff there for personnel management, time and attendance for the HR side. And then you have a lot on the utility billing
Well, no, I
side.
can read what's there. Are any of them duplicative with another service? And because at some point we were moving into Tyler, but we hadn't got rid of, and we weren't using like any other software. We weren't using it to its full capacity. I mean, and we were still paying somebody else for parts of what Tyler was doing.
Well, I think the
Are we
GL
still-
portion.
Wait a minute, are we still using someone else for some of these things
Well,
too?
there is still some of that, but that's only because we haven't paid Tyler for this yet. So we're still making that transition in some cases.
So is this cost we're using Tyler for everything now and Springbrook is all gone?
That's the direction it's going. But
So,
yeah,
so we have
haven't-
nothing budgeted for Springbrook at all for next budget year?
No, we do have some budgeted for Springbrook. Let me
Where,
double check.
where is that? How come it's not right here?
And what is this total to Tyler annually?
Well, first, where is Springbrook? And why isn't it right next to this?
Because
it's
it was
dupli-
moved to, and as you can see, it's called Altera now. It's
It's
not
called
called
what?
Springbrook.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Atera is a different product though, Jeff. Atera
have
is an IT
zero.
product.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
moved to 60431.
So do we still have,
Oh, there it is, under computer license. Okay, there's two other, on this page, there's two lines called Altera. One's 3,000,
Oh,
one's
3,000 down there. Well, it said it was moved to down there.
Okay, I think that's what Brandon just commented on, because it's moved to
Yeah.
computer licensing, but where's Springbrook? Where's the cost of doing some things that might duplicate what Tyler's available to do that we're still having to pay for? And yeah, there's more Tyler under professional services. There's 3 more lines of Tyler.
those are one-time costs, I believe. So
Yes.
that's not part of the annual.
Okay.
I want to know what that total cost is on here because I don't have anything to add it up. You can
Then
bring it
there's-
to the board meeting later, but what is that total cost? And is it that high because we're still in the phase and then at one point? I mean, how come we weren't made aware of this, of these things? And perhaps nobody was made aware of it. They get you and now you're stuck.
Okay, Director Cicada,
Uh-huh.
if you add up all those items under service maintenance contracts for Tyler, it's just a shade over $336,000 a year.
Every year. I'm sorry, but all the efficiency, that's every year. Ay, ay, ay. I sound like Bertha. Ay,
You
ay,
did.
ay.
Oh,
Anyhow,
oh, oh,
just-
oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, 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 no. That's what I should say. You know what? That is just, are we getting robbed?
Well, wait, where
Did we ever be
is,
able to do that?
where's Springbrook?
So
it-
what is the
I need
answer,
to
you
look into
guys?
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Is it, even though we spend all this money getting in here, but we've lost all efficiency?
Well, so that's what remains to be seen until the rest of this actually gets implemented, because we're not paying for some of this until it's actually implemented.
Okay,
The
but let's say
projection is
we're
that
2
we do
years
that
from
over the
now,
course of the-
2 years from now, Springbrook's gone, here we are, 336,000 a year. And I guarantee you, most of those modules will go up because they can. So at some point, do we say we can't do this anymore?
Because they have gone up. If I remember correctly, I'd have to go back and
Yeah,
look at the.
You guys,
data.
what would happen if all of a sudden we had one of those EMPs, is that what it is? And now we can't do anything computer? How would we bill everybody? Huh? We used to do it before, right? So is there something else? $336,000 a year. And that's just for them providing the product that you guys do all the work. You put it all in there.
Or if
I
we're
think
not,
you guys should look around.
if we're not, go back, if we're not paying, these are things that we may pay for and may implement during the year, and would it be would we only be paying for the months that are left in the budget year? Or these?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that's why we also have some implementation costs in here, is because the plan is, you know, initially we had anticipated having it implemented by now already, but that has been slowed down for various reasons. But the implementation costs in here are to add the modules that we haven't yet implemented over the course of the next
But the
year.
bottom line is you need all these because we're still, for all the general ledger work, it's still on Springbrook from what I understand.
Right.
So if that's the case, at some point in today's cost, that's what it's gonna be every year going forward. That's huge. And it's like, I think as a board, if we were told it was gonna be that every year, I don't think we would approve it. I
Well,
wouldn't.
the cost, if I remember correctly, it was not over 300, but it was
Yeah.
in the 200.
So what
I
happened?
think, and it's, so it's just the.
I mean, the
of-
cost for implementation, that was the big number I heard, but the implementation will be gone. That's the annual cost to use their product.
Right.
That's something that should be looked at. Wouldn't you guys rather that 336,000 go into CIP or, I don't know, payroll, paid time off? You know what I'm saying? For a good job, you know?
Per
is
diem
there
for the
some other
board?
Product.
We would-
Board per diem, we could
do
do
it. Yeah.
Is there another product? And I can't even believe I'm saying that, but because it's that much each year after implementation, I think somebody ought to look at that. That is just robbery, in my opinion. You know, you have moms, which I would never recommend to anybody.
Let's
Yeah.
let's
It's
ask,
really stupid.
Mm.
Don't go there.
can we ask Brandon and Dylan to work on weekends, putting together a similar product like this?
I'll work on weekends.
They-
I'm just
they
saying,
have some
guys.
If you're
weekends,
willing
but
for that project to take 6 to 7 years, sure.
We'll take a look at it.
You know what? I'll go look
Build
too,
a
if nobody
time.
has time.
We'll look at it.
Yeah.
Back.
You know, I mean, you don't have to bring it back right away. I mean, we've got to do this budget. We're stuck. We have no choice today. This
Yeah, I
is
think
it.
for budget.
But going forward, we most certainly can make a
Well, I
choice.
think that's what this meeting is for, is to talk about something in the budget that's
Here it
not-
is. This was
not-
my,
doesn't
like,
look-
oh
doesn't look
my
very
God.
good. Yeah.
We will,
And the service contracts, you know, those service contracts I have in there, review that too. And we discussed that. You guys will look at it. You've already done it, whatever. But again, it's like, I hear that efficiency word. So at what point? And I think I'm gonna start asking every time I hear you say, we're gonna be more efficient. I go, well, when's the payoff? When does that payoff happen?
Okay, Jeff, can we, when this comes back, can we have that subtotal for Tyler in here? You know,
Yes.
the itemization is always good, but the subtotal, what they add up to in there, the Tyler subtotal or Tyler total, and then also Springbrook doing some of the exact same things should be in that same box.
And you
so there's another line for a Terra 3000 and licenses and maintenance contracts. Is that?
I think Brandon just spoke up and said that's something different dealing with computers, but
Yeah, and I'm looking into that Springbrook costs, so I will get you that information. And I've emailed Brandon, hold on, to see what what Springbrook will cost us moving forward for this year, because I know we paid for a subscription, but I don't know if it ended at June 30th or if it bled over into the next fiscal year.
and those Tyler implementation costs under professional services on the same page, does that make sense to everybody that they're different from all the other Tyler costs?
That's the install cost. That's the cost they're charging us to put the modules into our system and get them up and running. That's
So
just
those are
not the annual
one-time
fees.
costs.
Those are one-time fees?
Yes.
Okay.
So let us know what the annual fee is for this when all the implementation's done. That's what I'd like to know. If it's only at that 100,000, I guess that's still a stupid number too. But it's not 300 and some odd thousand.
It's not.
No, it is 300,000.
Yeah, okay,
The,
so,
the implementation is down at the bottom on the other page under professional services, not even included in that.
you know, and I would hope, and I know this is, but I'm gonna say it anyway, but I would hope that the end users of this product actually have a lot of input, not the managers, no offense, managers. But the end user should be having the input, and I know you do it, I'm just
They
saying,
absolutely will. They did the first time around too.
good. Yeah, but the thing is some people aren't here anymore. So, you know,
We'll
we
look at it
did
again.
the best we could with this, but I think now looking at it, it's like, I think we ought to step back and take a look.
We'll do it.
And actually those end users, maybe you could ask them if they know of something and make any suggestions. And I'm just talking, you guys, you know, just, you guys are the ones that make it happen,
Certainly,
whatever that is.
will do.
Okay, I'm all done.
Okay, Cindy's all done with, the budget. Jeff, are you all done with, operating budget for this year?
I am all done. Do you have any questions?
Nope, not if you're all done.
Just comments.
And Cindy's all done, and I've done all my comments.
Yeah, no, that was really good, you guys. I think overall, we're okay. There's just certain areas that I would love to see something.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Michael,
Can
you have
we take a
anything?
quick break real quick?
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Minute break.
I'll take advantage of it.
Good job.
No, no,
Say it.
I appreciate the feedback.
Where do you log some? Wow.
Bye, Damon.
We're back, okay, we're back in session. We're done with,
What
there he
about
is.
the,
We're done with, new business. We're gonna move into item 4, old business, audit manager. I think this is, speaking to our audit management letter. And the thing that came up was the investment policy. So I'm gonna guess that was.
yeah,
one of
where's the
items.
investment policy at? Isn't it in our,
It's in our packet, the
Yeah.
new one.
oh, so you don't, yeah, I mean, I was looking at, but you're not asking for any direction, just bring it to the board for the most part?
What,
Oh, I think they're asking us
Just
to
our
review,
comments.
to review all the blue lined items.
Mine
which
was
I
red,
did.
wasn't it?
Chairman Ratterman, if I may?
Go ahead.
The item before you is based on the audit management letter. We're going through and correcting things that were
Yeah.
identified in that letter. This one is the annual investment policy. What we brought this to your board at the last meeting for you to take a look at it, knowing that it was a number of changes. We asked you to kind of take a look at it, see if you have any comments. Chandler Asset Management I reached out to them and they were they're the experts in this area. So they were the ones that have come up with this blue line version of it. And all we're asking at this particular point is if you see no recommended changes, I'll recommend that we take it to the full board for adoption.
Yeah, you've gone through this with a fine tooth comb yourself?
Yeah, are you okay
Uh,
with it?
I was going to say
I-
something sarcastic that it kept me up late at night, but yes, I have looked at it.
Okay, and what exactly did the audit management letter say on this subject? That is it, I know it's an annual, that we hadn't done it annually? We're supposed to do it, we're supposed to do this every single year?
Yes, we were supposed to approve
Okay.
it by the end of the fiscal year, each and every year. We did not do that in fiscal year 21, 22.
Okay. Okay, I looked through it, and if Chandler did it and you look through it, I'm sure Mr. Minkler has perused it.
Mr. Minkler, what's your comments?
There's an Oxford comma missing, but I'll get to that. I think we're okay.
Yeah, I don't see
Okay.
anything wrong with it. But then again, I'm not expert in this, so if you guys all agree with it, I'm good.
Yeah, and a lot of it is really reflecting, other laws and regulations
Yeah.
that we have to follow. anyways, but,
Exactly,
yeah.
yeah.
And changing the word percent to the actual symbol percent.
So.
Seemed to be a big common theme all the way through this.
I'm opposed to that. We'll
They
switch
did
it
look
back.
at this. The auditors looked at this and.
I think the only
gave
thing
their
in it
approval.
is that we didn't have one, not that ours was bad or needed
Yeah,
attention.
and I
we
don't
just
know
didn't
that
have it
the
reviewed.
auditors would review it. They'll,
Okay,
weren't
they just looking for us to update it?
Well, they
when
had,
needed
they
or
had a bunch
something
of bullet
regularly?
points on the things, and the law or the practice is that you update it every single year, and we hadn't. That was.
That's
Right,
what I thought,
exactly.
okay, so we're good.
Yeah.
but I don't think they would want to review the policy themselves.
Right.
They try to stay.
Well, that's what I was trying to clarify. Did they expect to see something different in there or just tell us, look at it and put your stamp on it? Saying you reviewed it, yeah, okay.
This is probably a good consent agenda item for
Exactly,
the
in
upcoming
that
June
open
meetings.
meeting.
Yeah,
I agree.
We
okay.
can do that.
Okay, I'm good.
And now we're on to, is that it for that, Jeff? You got anything else?
That's under it for new business and old business.
Okay, how about Director of Administrative Services comments? Any
Um,
other wise words from that chair?
I'm hoping to be back in the office sometime the end of June.
Awesome,
Well, we, yeah.
awesome.
But do
Looking
your
forward to seeing
recovery,
it.
that's important.
General Manager comments?
No, nothing for the finance committee at this point. We didn't already cover last week, so yeah, no comments.
Okay. Engineering Department comments? Federal Affairs, External Affairs, Department comments? Director comments, Cindy?
I was just thinking of something. Actually, I know
Was
you
it
guys.
Tyler? Was Tyler on? your
Yeah,
mind?
that was stuck on my mind. In my opinion, I think we should really consider something else. But anyhow, actually, it's my comment time. So yes, I think we should consider revisiting Springbrook because we already have part of it. But, find out is what their annual cost is going to be compared to Tyler's. If it's not a savings, and obviously we wouldn't do that at this point. Anyhow, everybody I know did a really good job on the budget. It's hard, especially when so much goes up. And with the rate study, everybody's just been working really hard. So thank you. Hope you all had a good 3-day weekend, or even took one, I should say.
Yeah, that should have been my comment is gratitude for Jeff for working through some adversity to
Absolutely.
get this done.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Jeff,
Jeff.
thank you.
You're
I mean,
welcome.
working from home and doing all this stuff during when you're supposed to be recovering, so.
And we should probably give Stacy a shout out too, because she picked up a heavier burden than usual this
Thank
year.
you, Stacy. Thank you,
Very
everybody.
much
I
so,
mean,
yes.
And on that subject of Stacy, when is her helper, her HR person or is that job posted?
Yep,
And
we're actually did interviews today.
teamwork makes the dream work. Everybody's doing a good job.
And I have no comments. Future agenda items?
I
You brought
believe
up a
we
couple of them.
discussed.
Hey, I have two good ones. How about rate study and budget? And
Well, for the next finance committee, hopefully we'll be done with at least one of those.
Yeah, the budget should be done. I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty whittled down.
well, we'll continue on the management letter until we're done.
yeah, and actually one thing I should note is partly just because of timing and circumstances, but also because of the discussion we had last year about personnel. There are some personnel, potential organizational changes, nothing major shifting, but we are looking at some potential changes. But we wanted to get through budget first, and if there are any changes, we would recommend it that
Are
require
you
board
asking for more
approval.
money?
No, if there are
Better be in the
any
budget now.
change-
Don't come
changes,
back.
well, actually, last year, the direction from the board was not to do it as a part of the budget. And
But
so-
that was for one particular thing. Oh, so is that what we're talking about?
No, that's a good policy going forward. It's.
I know, I-
So
Everything.
And we're not talking about adding, really, it's just a
Shifting
question of,
something.
yeah, some organizational changes we may bring back in July.
Okay.
Other than that, I know at some point, maybe, once we're done with budget, we will revisit the property tax question and probably start at finance committee with that one as well. I'm not sure if that'll be July or the following meeting. Because we'll still be in rate study at that point.
Okay.
Could be both potentially, but at least initially sewer, yeah. So that's a future. agenda.
Let's do them separately. I think one of them's already a statute, already can do, just so we can just make a decision up here and boom, it's done. That's the sewer rates. The variable portion of the water rates is
Well, we know you-
questionable, whether or not we can even do it.
Oh,
We know we can't do the variable portion of the water rate.
We know you can't do the variable. I'm talking about the fixed
that's what I
portion
mean.
of the
You can't
water.
Do the variable portion. You could
Right.
potentially do the base rate. And so
Yeah.
and agencies are doing that.
Right. No, I know Mesa is currently doing it, but the sewer, you want to, I'd like to talk about them separately.
I mean, I
We
think
can
they're
do
the
that
same
s-
issue. It's the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
They may be, there's differences into whether, we could do it either way. We don't, just because we do sewer doesn't mean we have to do water.
Right.
But
Okay.
it's the same set of issues. So maybe we talk about them all at the same time.
Okay.
Yes, and it'd probably be best to get through the July rate study stuff and we can maybe look at it in August.
Yeah.
And yes, they are similar, but just to remember, if even if you build the base rate for water, customers are still going to be getting we have to send out bills every month. or every 2 months
Right.
for customers on the consumptive side. So we're really
Right.
not saving anything on postage or data pros costs.
No, see, then, and the big differences in my mind is how they affect the customer themselves, and definitely getting rid of sewer, I think would affect our customer service department, and there'd be less work to do there if we got rid of sending out a sewer bill, but we'd still be doing almost the same amount of work, sending out the variable bill to every single customer on the water side.
Yeah.
So there are,
There's-
that's where I'm seeing the differences in discussing them, but they are the same issue on talking about them. And that's fine. We can all talk about them all at the same time.
Sounds good.
Next committee meeting, did we decide earlier this meeting that we were gonna have a June, or we decide not to? A June finance committee meeting.
I would say let's plan on not doing it. The only caveat I would say is if we get, if there's, for some reason, if there's extensive feedback from the board on the budget at the first board meeting in June, and that triggers the need to review it again in finance committee, I'm not expecting huge changes, but if that happens, we may want to bring it back to finance committee
Because
to,
normally it would be June 20th.
right.
Right.
Let's pencil it in unless something changes.
Okay. And I
Well,
would
right
be
now
here
it's
that
not
time.
on the calendar, but we can add it back in. I
If you-
guess, we
Your
need to.
call.
If you wanted to do it when I'm gonna be able to go there, it would have to be on Friday the 15th. And that's the only,
No,
That
not.
would only be a couple of days after the board
I
meeting.
mean, the 16th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
That's
would
my
not give us
birthday.
time to
Not gonna
create
happen.
an
Okay.
agenda for that.
Right.
Okay,
So I couldn't do those dates actually.
Okay,
The
all right.
16th or the 15th.
and
unless it was
I wouldn't be
later
able to
in
do
the
any later than that if we called it in June anyway. So it'd be it'd be you and Bertha, but that's fine.
Sounds good.
Okay,
So we'll plan on not having it unless.
okay, no
Okay,
meeting in,
perfect.
no finance meeting, no finance committee meeting in June. And anything further, if there's nothing further,
Yes or no?
July, you want to
Yeah,
go ahead and look
I
at it?
generally don't like to go more than cancel 2 in a
July.
row.
The last couple of years.
I know, usually we
I
have the
may have
one in June and then we
just
cancel July because we're all burned out from the budget. It usually
I have it on July 18th.
July 18.
I just put it, I think I have one for every single month for that Tuesday, that third
Third Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
third Tuesday at 1, or,
That is the tentative.
I may have Bertha do that one. Unless you want me to call him from Peppermill again. That'll be good. Want me to do those good for you, or? As you will be
I
on-
think we should plan on July 18th, the regular meeting on July 18th.
finance committee meeting. Okay.
So
All
I'll
right,
ask Bertha.
that is our next set committee meeting. We may have one in June if we decide to, if the board decides to, and we're adjourned.
All
Thank you very
right.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
the feedback. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Take care.
Thank you,
Get healed.
everybody. Done. Hi, John. Did you guys by any chance talk with Jack about the fire meeting in West Point for a potential, let's go there ourselves,
We have,
June something,
yeah,
June 8th? Are you guys gonna go? Okay, good.
yeah,
go
we're,
too.
we're planning, and then there's one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go too. It's 5 o'clock, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh,